In a recent development, the Peter Obi media team announced that Yunusa Tanko, who served as spokesperson for Peter Obi's presidential campaign, will step into the role of interim national coordinator of the Obidient movement. His appointment comes at a crucial time as the movement tries to solidify its base and ramp up its effort, both at home and abroad. But this leadership announcement is happening against the backdrop of intense infighting within the Labour Party, the very platform that gave rise to the movement during the 2023 elections.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening, Nigerians.
Good evening. Well, let's start with the fundamentals. I mean, what are the core objectives of the Obidient movement? Let's start from there. Is it purely supporting Peter Obi's presidential ambition, or is there a broader agenda to this movement?
Okay. Please forgive me. I will not sit here not responding to some of the things that...
We'll come to that, Mr. Felix Moka.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
Of course, I'll give you the opportunity.
Please, I would really like to respond to some of the things. You would respond to that. But practically, the Obidient movement is about citizen engagement. Practically. And what is the citizen engagement? People believe that there is a need for good governance in Nigeria. We need a country that is based on fairness, equity, and justice for all. We need a country that the narrative will not be twisted in the interest of the person that is probably holding the position of power as we see today. Commitment to good leadership. And so that when you go outside this particular country, you'll be represented and you'll be seen as somebody that comes from an integrity-driven country. These are the principles that govern the Obidient movement. But also know that before it started, there must be a messaging. Though there was a decay in the system that had led to this particular belief. But then the messaging of His Excellency Peter Obi connected with the Nigerian people. And it cut across everywhere. And I keep on saying that also, that in every home, there is an Obidient. In fact, I am bold to say that even in the presidency, there's an Obidient. That's why we said that the Obidient movement is actually larger than the party itself, because it is that gives strength to the Labour Party. Because I deliver a speech, I remember, in Edo State. I draw up a triangular shape of what the triangles really represent. You'll find out that we have our presidential candidate who, of course, translated that particular messaging. It was that message that led to about 12 million Nigerian youth registering, some of them coming from outside the country for the first time in the history of this country. And those who are already clamoring that they have done well were the people who are also the one maiming and intimidating those Nigerians who, for the first time, have decided to believe in a Nigeria because somebody has been able to speak to their conscience and their mind. And that is exactly how the Obidient movement was given birth to. But we understand that we cannot continue to remain as an amorphous organization because it will not give us the drive. The energy that is within the Obidient movement cannot be left in the hands of people just, scattered without being organized. And so therefore, this time around, we want to organize that particular, harnessing that particular energy, putting the right peg in the right hole so that we can be able to translate it into a winning position. So it is something that has started, that is to be achieved today and even beyond. Because if at the end of it all, we are able to achieve a mindset for Nigeria that good governance reigns supreme in the heart of everybody, I can tell you that probably the next set of leadership, which we believe that we'll be part of, will start giving us the dividend of democracy. Okay,
so you do admit that this is a shift in position to structure the Obidient movement. I ask you because just very recently, under the factional leadership of Mr. Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party, he announced a Obidient directorate within the Labour Party. But Mr. Peter Obi responded very swiftly, and I think we can pull up that tweet, where he said that the movement isn't tied to any party or traditional structure. He says that it transcends beyond any political party and, of course, the traditional boundaries, diverse, collective, and inclusive. That's how it's a long tweet, and this is just part of it. But with your appointment now, it does seem as though there's a shift towards formalizing what this movement is supposed to be.
Exactly. Because when that announcement was made as regard to it being a directorate under the Labour Party, it belittles the Obidient movement. it shows the weakness that probably it is small as just a directorate inside the Labour Party. And besides, it's against the constitution of the Labour Party. It doesn't have that particular capacity to say you are building up a directorate of a movement, of name, of something. It is not. You can only have a directorate of mobilization. The constitution is very, very clear. So, but then you now give it a nomenclature, and that's completely wrong. So, but we know that that particular nomenclature is bigger than the whole of the party itself.
So what's the relationship between the Obidient movement and Labour Party at the moment? Good.
The relationship is what we say that the Obidient movement currently gives strength to the Labour Party. The bulk of members that really join, that are members of the Obidient, far beyond that, are into the Labour Party in order to actualize the dream of the Obidient movement. Because it was our vehicle that we have. And the truth about it is that we've been shopping for a registered vehicle for a very long time. But we couldn't get it until the last very minute. And then eventually when we got it, we have to encourage most of the people who believe in that particular messaging to join the Labour Party so that we can be able to actualize what we believe in. Because at least in Nigeria as of today, if you don't belong to a political party, you cannot contest election. We don't have independent entities.
Exactly. So is the Obidient movement open to collaborating with other movements, for example, the Kwankwasia movement and other political parties? How is this a bargaining chip for Mr. Peter Obi, should he decide to leave the Labour Party ahead of the 2027 presidential elections or general elections?
Anybody that believes in good governance, anybody that believes that Nigeria can be a united country that will devoid of you thinking about your tribe, religion, or where you come from, as against quality of life and protecting of the sanctity of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as enshrined in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is very, very much welcome to collaborate with the Obidient movement. Like I said, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. But don't be surprised that you might even find that we are even in the Kwankwasia itself. I'll give you a simple example. A friend of mine who was contesting for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria told me that he's suspecting that his wife and his 2 sons are Obidient.
Interesting. So your role is interim. It suggests that it is temporary. Why is that? And also, I would like to know who are the other leadership that are emerging from this structure you're trying to put in place. How are they being nominated from within the movement?
Okay, you know that, of course, the network of the space and social media and all, that's where the convergence really, really happen. Because that's where Nigerians can freely come in and espouse what their minds are. And so we leverage on that. We leverage on that as a connecting point. Then, as regard to my interim position, it is interim because we needed to build the structure to a particular time so that when it will now be more democratically more arranged. But even before I emerged, it went through a semi-cosal kind of democracy. So it wasn't as if somebody said, this is the person.
You're not being imposed.
Yeah, it's not being imposed to anybody at all. But it was really, really published within the system and all. But 169 people did their survey and all before they come up with nomination. And I'm very proud to say that the time in which the nomination came, 9 or 10 persons who even nominated me straight. There was no any objection. But of course, in a democratic system, you cannot say you are 100% pure. There must be some dissenting voice, but the popular voice overshadows even the dissenting voice.
Indeed. Are there plans that the Obidient movement will morph into a political party in the near future? Is that the plan here?
Well, let me give you an example of the PDM. The PDM was an organization like a movement too in that similar regard. But it was done by the former Chief of Staff, Musa Yaradua in particular. The idea was to have a collective belief and a set of belief that everybody within that circle believe in. So you move those particulars to anywhere you want to go. In case if you go into a Labour Party or any political party whatsoever, you should be able to exemplify and espouse that you believe in within the circle and change even the negative narrative that is therein. So the target is that we want to know how many we are. We want to know our capacity to speak to issue. We want to know how we can change the narrative. In civil society, there's a word we use to believe and say, stop antagonizing, be more organizing. So there's a lot of accusation at that time that came in that we are not structured, we are just being stubborn, we just accuse them. Okay, we're taking your advice. Now we are structuring ourselves. We want to know the kind of person that you are, even if you belong to us. Then we will be able to say, this is one of us, and he's going to champion our cause. So therefore, most of the candidates that we may have in the future may come from the obedient movement to give ownership, and so that you can't go into a river when you know you can't swim. So you must prepare to know how to drown. So and you get drowned. So in this case, what we are trying to do is that ensure that we have all of our propellers ready, we all have our engine, all of them ready, so that when it's time to fly, we fly with a lot of determination and consensiveness.
Indeed. So you talked about antagonizing and providing solutions, rather. So I want you to respond to what Mr. Felix Smoker said, because he did say your leader, Peter Obi, is dubious intellectually when he responds to the issues of the day in criticizing the government of the day. Of course, you listened to him. You heard what he had to say.
I did, and it's very, very appalling and unbelievable. We're all Nigerians. I'm sure, even in his own home, you know how much a bag of rice costs. Was Peter Obi the one that made that particular prices? Obviously not. We also know that how can you, as a government, say you increase the salary of the civil servant, the next few days, which the money up to now has not reached the pocket of the civil servant.
It hasn't been paid.
Who is lying? Who on this earth is lying? Mr. Peter Obi, or they are the one lying? They are the one deceiving the people and manipulating the thing. Look, I'm just coming from Benin, from Delta State. The road from Benin, out of Benin, on your way to Enugu or any other eastern state, is still as dangerously bad. But yet you are budgeting money. You want to build a road from Calabar to Lagos. Not that there's something wrong with it, but the fact is that the priority at the moment? Obviously, no. Some few days ago, Nigerians were being killed like chickens in Zamfara State, Katsina and the rest of them. Was it statement made, or was it Peter Obi that was the banditry that went into Zamfara bush? Obviously, no. And these are things that even the bandits are coming out to say that it is the government that is sponsoring them. They didn't say any other person. Now, you're talking about the school fees of Nigerians. Students are going back to school today, maybe in a few days now. Many people cannot pay. They cannot take care of it. Is that the issue of Nigeria in Peter Obi? Okay. So, in a nutshell, you cannot look at Nigerians and insult them in this level of magnitude and think probably you are just doing your... It's completely unacceptable.
No, it's enough. It's ginger. It's enough. Yeah, good.
So 1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon of
turmeric.
So how much is this one?
So in Nigeria, this one is 1,000. The what? Okay. Why this one is 1,005?
Okay.
Yeah. And the fish is these out. Super Kumari is 1.5.
When are you living here?
So I'm going to be here to Wednesday. I want to try to save you 1 hour.
So 1.5.
Yes, this one is ginger is 1.8. This is 1.2.
So you get 3,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But you give me another thing.
Oh, okay.
When I see you here tomorrow,
I'm
I'll give you the money.
Sir, the mother.